Let's call to order the Fitchburg Conservation Commission regular monthly meeting for February 5th, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for attending tonight. I have a brief statement and then we will get started on our hearings tonight. The Fitchburg Conservation Commission has 7 members who serve on a volunteer basis. The commission collaborates with residents, businesses, and organizations to facilitate compliance with the 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act. This commission operates under the authority granted by the Fitchburg Wetlands Ordinance and the Wetlands Protection Act. The commission requests that anyone wishing to speak approach the podium and speak clearly into the microphone. Remote attendees should maintain microphones on mute for privacy. If you wish to speak, raise your hand. That will alert the agent of your intention to comment. The commission requests that comments be limited to no more than 5 minutes in the interest of time. Meetings of this commission are subject to and abide by the open meeting law. Please be advised that this public meeting is being live streamed and recorded by FATV. If a member of the in-person audience is recording this meeting, please identify yourself now for the public record. There being none at this time, please make sure that all devices are in silent mode. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And let me take a call the roll of commissioners in attendance. Commissioner Christian?
Here.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Here.
Commissioner Pelletier is not with us tonight. Commissioner Tanton-Arawat?
Here.
Commissioner Wallace?
Here.
And Commissioner Jacobs in attendance. Also in attendance tonight is Conservation Agent Ms. Herlin Jamie. Commissioner Christian, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if everybody would stand, please. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please be seated. And do we have any announcements? Herlin, I think do you have one tonight?
Yes, just a brief statement. So the Commonwealth's ruling on remote participation is coming to an end at the end of March, I believe March 25th of 2025. We currently don't have an update as to whether there will be an extension or not. So effectively, March 25th, we will no longer be able to host ourselves online, but participants and other people could probably still attend. It's still kind of finicky. We don't have concrete.
All right, so as it stands right now, then hybrid meetings are coming to an end. Everyone needs to be in person. So I know sometimes a lot of people like to get online. You can still watch the meetings because FATV is broadcasting it, but you will not be able to participate in the meeting online. They're going back to, pre-COVID era in-person meetings. So we're just kind of giving everybody a heads up that Massachusetts may change that before the 25th of March, but as of right now, as of March 25th, that option will no longer be available. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, very good. Then let's start with our hearings tonight. And our first order on the agenda is notice of intent for Oakhill Country Club, LLC Solar, excuse me for 1 minute. Oh, okay, thank you. Shea Street, who is speaking on that project. Anthony, state your name, please, for the record.
Sure. My name is Anthony Cleaves. I'm with Haley Ward here on behalf of Oakhill Club Solar LLC. We're the design engineers for the project. So to give you the commission an update, as you recall, at the end of last year, through various hearings and whatnot, a third-party review through Conservation Commission updated the wetlands, located that, and there were more wetlands than was originally shown. And so since that time, the solar team has been working on revising the solar layout. what's also involved in that is permitting through Unitil. And so what they're trying to do is scale the project back, obviously, due to the wetlands that were added to the project, but also still try to be as sensitive to those areas as we originally were, where we're trying to keep all of the panels, if possible, out of the buffer zone and try and minimize that. So that is still the intent, and they're still trying to work on that. What now becomes just even more so an important part of that is the permitting through Unitil, which is not a quick thing. So they started to re-engage with Unitil at the end of last year, and they are making progress on that. They were hoping to be further along at this point to have some good clarification on what upgrades to the system are going to be needed, cost associated with that, because that will impact the overall design of the solar system itself. So that is still in the works. That's kind of in the solar team's hands. Once they complete that and get further along with Unitil, it'll come back to us as the site design, and we're going to revise our plans and get that back to the commission. So we'll speak with the solar team this past couple of weeks. They don't expect that Unitil process will be wrapped up in time that we could update our plans in advance enough for the next meeting in March. So we're hoping that we'd be able to do that for the April meeting. So what I'd like to ask for tonight, if we could continue this, not till March, but till April, to then, I can give you an update then, hopefully have plans for you to review and see at that point. But that's kind of the update on where we are in the process.
Okay, so that makes sense, because that's what we're looking for. We want to know, both for us and for members of the public that are looking for, when are we going to see a new plan?
Yes.
What's going to happen? What's that new plan going to look like?
Yep.
So that's why we asked you to come back in tonight to give us an update on that.
Absolutely.
Now, also, not only are you facing that, but under the Wetlands Protection Act, you also have a 2-year time frame. So you may need to have legal take a look at that and work with Mass DEP as far as your filing and an extension at that point, because you'll be coming up, I
believe we also have to refile already, because there was a change in commission members and didn't have a quorum. If I'm remembering this project correctly, I thought we had to re-notify abutters and kind of, is that this project?
Yeah, it was that you did already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we use that date as our filing date?
It wasn't a refile, it was a reorganization of the board.
Okay.
So we kind of
that because of the new members,
start
right?
over because
So
we
just-
didn't have enough quorum. Is that how it?
No, we had new members, because we had several new members on board, and then, again, there was a span of time where nothing was happening, so.
Right, but also I think it was we didn't have enough.
So we are all going to need to look to guidance from Mass DEP to find out which date is then your effective date. So we're also up against that, too. So just to be aware of that, Anthony.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's good to keep everybody up to date.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I appreciate the information. At this point, because I know we do have possibly some residents in attendance, I will open the floor for public comment. But at this point, I mean, we all know that there are many concerns about this project. We've already had many discussions about that. Let's wait and see what the new plan looks like, where everybody can see how that impact to the area is going to change. But if you have any comments or concerns about the project not being available until April, I would take those comments. If anybody wants to step up to the podium. Councilor Cruz?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me speak. Regarding this, I won't belabor the points that have been made in the past and all the concerns we have that this doesn't meet the environmental requirements to install this installation. I won't get into that. But I do think that, with all due respect to the proposals and the developers, it's time to get this moving. It's time for this continuances to stop. It's time to stop hearing that we have plans. We just don't have them yet. Out of respect to your time, the city's time, and these residents who care so much about their neighborhood. And I would encourage maybe giving this leave to withdraw until they can come with the appropriate plans that we can make a determination on, that you can make a determination on, as a respect for all parties involved. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Cruz, thank you so much. Councilor Cragen. Good evening, Councilor Cragen.
Good evening to the board, to the watchers, to all the residents of Shea Street neighborhood who are in this room. I concur with my fellow councilor. We have been now going into, 18 months or something, and again, the neighbors are here unified. The wetlands, the woods, the natural resources that are there are still in jeopardy, and we really we need to put a stop to this and just say, until we're looking at something concrete, just leave to withdraw. So that's all I have. I appreciate you hearing me out. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Let's turn to the commission. Any comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Donnelly?
I'm gathering. We're going to continue it, and someone has suggested leave to withdraw. How does a leave to withdraw change a continuance? What are the ramifications of a leave to withdraw?
Well, at that, if I understand the process right, that there would not be a continuance every month if they came back in 6 months and said, now I'm prepared, then the process starts again, even though it's not a whole new filing. And I'm not the legal analyst here, but I think that's the process. But at this point, we have on the table that something may be available for April. Maybe let's see what happens then. Would you be comfortable with that?
I just want to know, well, our alternative, what is the difference between our alternatives?
A leave to withdraw would mean it would come off of our agenda, for one thing. And then we would have, we may, if you come back and bring it back to us on that, because that doesn't withdraw it completely, public notice would have to go out and everybody really would be aware. But I think we're doing that anyway. When you come back in April, if we have plans, we're going to share with the counselors, with everybody that, get the word out, and then they will post it on their Facebook page that we now have a new plan. If you want to come to the meeting now, it's time to attend.
Yeah, I think that was part of the conversation I had with the solar team, is to try and get a sense. I said, I expected that the city and the neighbors are anxious to see what's going on. I don't want to come before you again tonight and say, hey, can I continue it to March, if there was no shot that was going to happen. And the discussion we had was, there's probably not a good chance that Unitil will be done their review process, that we would have plans for the next meeting in March. We talked with them, and they thought April was much more likely. Now, as a in between, to make sure, maybe we say May, if that's more comfortable, for the commission. But we'd rather not do a leave to withdraw and start over. We'd like to continue on this process with the updated wetland information. It's just, unfortunate there are other things that are working to get us to that point, to be able to come back to the commission with an updated site design.
Well, so do we say possibly May, and by that point, then there'll have to be a hard decision made that if you can't come up with a plan by May, then maybe you may need to withdraw?
Now. 18 months.
All right, the counselors, please. Thank you. Okay.
Again, I think it's this process, with Unitil is not a quick thing. It goes through this various review. And they started that again at the end of last year, holidays, things like that, and it has been making progress, is what I'm being told. Expectation wasn't going to be ready enough to be for the next meeting. They thought April made more sense. But to not have everyone come back in April, to have another me updating, say, yeah, we're really close, do we do that in May and have this discussion again? And hopefully at that point we'll actually have plans that we can talk about.
Okay. councilors, I don't want to be, let me remind you, Wetlands Protection Act gives them 2 years, okay? So we're still well within that time frame. Nobody likes to see anything go on all that long, but they are not outside their window of when they can submit valid plans. So the alternative to that is let's set a date by May. And it's now understood that the plan will come back in May, or then, we're not going to talk about conditioning any longer on going forward. At that point, then you've got to withdraw it and come back when you really do have a plan, and we'll start the process again. I think that's fair on both sides. I understand everybody wants to get this resolved, but we're not there yet, and it's unfortunate. So better off to say May is going to be the timeline. We either have a plan to review again, or we're not going to continue. And then, Anthony, you're going to be pushing your 2-year timeline at that point anyway.
Right. I think it makes sense if we could, just, I guess, have this discussion again in May, and, again, intent being have some plans to discuss, can also, revisit the 2-year timeline to see how that is.
We'll get some
impacting
clarification on that,
plans.
too.
I can coordinate with Herlin on that, too, and
Okay.
we're on the same page.
Yeah, it's July of this year.
Yeah, July will be the 2-year,
It's
yeah.
been confirmed, the DP and legal. It's July of this year, so we don't meet in July. So technically, you have till June, and it's totally up to the discretion of the commission to allow an extension.
So then yeah. And so if June is your deadline, because we don't meet in July, by May, we should know something. If you're not going to be ready by May, then we'll know. Councilor Howard, the commissioners here, any questions?
No, it makes sense to me. I mean, we're getting close to the deadline anyways, and he's requesting until May. Do we have the authority to say, withdraw your application?
No, not until the time frame
So
is
if we
up.
don't have the authority, then I would say then just allow the time to run out or give him the opportunity till May.
Okay.
And I think that makes more sense to not have the neighbors.
Hopefully,
have
it's a
to come
fair
every month.
compromise for everybody. I know everybody wants that, we appreciate your participation. We want you to be part of this process, but sometimes these things just take a lot longer than, we like to see all the way around. But we appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for coming out on a cold night. But
Can I provide some clarification? For clarification, the deadline is for a final order of conditions. So a final order of conditions must be issued before the July deadline, and we don't meet in July.
Unless the commission
Correct.
wants to extend.
Unless the commission,
decides to extend.
Correct.
Okay. All right. But Anthony, let's shoot for May and see where we are and have some definitive answer by then. So if I could have a motion to continue this project to our May meeting, which is the 7th. Thank you, Commissioner Wallace. May 7th. Do I have a motion?
Motion to continue this until May 7th.
And a second?
Second.
And let me call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs is an aye. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you back here in May, and Anthony, we will see you back in May also.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming.
I didn't ask. I'll keep it short. Can you tell permitting purposes need other than distribution and how much electricity they got to sell? And how does that have to do with anything on the ground necessarily? I didn't ask.
I got an idea.
To me, it's kind of like a just delay tactic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we could kind of get everybody out into the hallway so we can move on to our next project. We appreciate you attending. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have a notice of intent, AG Dream Flip, single-family dwelling, Fairmount Street, Bill, we're going to take these one at a time tonight. Okay, for Lot 1, and Lot 1 is, get my paperwork out here, Mass DEP number 1550751. And who is speaking on this project?
For the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering. Chris
Good
was
evening.
not able to make it tonight, but he might chime in remotely, but it depends upon
Okay.
situation at home. But I believe everything has been addressed. I believe that the last order of business was more or less to make sure everything was all set with reviews, and then I think the order of conditions was being prepared, et cetera. So I don't think there's anything else to add.
I don't. I think we're getting very, very, very close. Do you have an update on where they were working on that culvert? Because I know I went by the other day and they were still the one that goes down under the railroad tracks. How close is that to being complete?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Well, I believe that
Roland?
that's under a separate order.
Yep,
I have an update that's under the emergency cert, and DPW is going to go out either today or yesterday to inspect the work.
okay. Because I went by the other day and they were still working on that, but at least they're progressing. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So let me open the floor to public comment at this point. If is anybody here interested in Fairmount Street Lot 1 at this time? No one else? Chris is on. Yeah. Harlan, does Chris want to comment at all?
He can hear you. He has ability to talk.
Okay.
For the record, Chris Anderson. I think at this point, it was just that last few outstanding items that Hurl and I kind of correlated with. So I think at this point, we've provided all supporting documentation as requested.
Okay, Chris, thank you so much. If anybody, do we have any additional questions about or concerns where we are? I think at this point, I know I worked with Herlin a little bit, we have possible conditions for this project, which would be, this is Lot 1, Mass DEP number 1550751. We would impose our standard additional special conditions. In addition, we have a few additional conditions, which would be City of Fitchburg markers, the placards that we talked about, spaced between not more than 30 and 50 feet apart, locations to be confirmed with the agent. But Harlan, I'm thinking you're leaning towards the 30-foot mark rather than 30 to 50?
Correct.
All right, so we'll do 30 feet on those in the condition, Bill?
Right, and I presume that that will be done towards the end of construction?
Yeah,
right?
at the
At the discretion of the-
25-foot buck.
At the discretion of the agent.
Yep, okay. In addition to the loom seed, the jute mats applied on the slope to the west side of the garage, that plug planting will be done to assist in the slope stabilization. We're writing that into the condition.
Mm-hmm.
Drainage easement to be granted to the city of Fitchburg as noted on the plans. Slope erosion control planting plan to strictly be adhered to as detailed on page 9 of the approved plan. As detailed on page 9 of the approved plan. And the last additional special condition, a full printed copy of the O&M PPP plan shall be provided to the, quote, responsible party post-construction, and it's 7 pages. Chris did pull that file out so that we have that indicated there.
Right, I believe the intent was also to attach that to the order.
Yes.
That way, when it gets recorded, that O&M is part of the document on.
Yep. All right. So, Herlin, when we do write that we'll attach the O&M plan to the order of condition, so that way there it will get recorded, because that, again, is a couple of perpetual conditions that we'd like to add. Wetland markers to remain in place permanently and replaced as needed. So as those wetland markers go up, we want to make sure those stay in place. The existing monument markers to remain intact and undisturbed. I know that's on your plan, but we want it in the conditions. Again, stormwater operation and maintenance plan to remain in perpetuity, of which to be included in the documents registered at the North Worcester County Register of Deeds. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions about those conditions or any additions or subtractions to?
I see a disconnect, and it's going to be resolved, but the inspection and maintenance plan during construction, it addresses largely a contractor, and the contractor has yet to be named. So the disconnect is that he doesn't have the paper, and he's got to go off of the plan. This is a plan, but they can come back with an as-built. At what point in time should we be looking for a change in that plan during construction, or do we wait till post-construction to get an as-built for on-site, problems that arise, this, that, the other thing? Can we, is it asking a lot to have an engineer sign off on it and report to us a plan on-site that doesn't follow this particular plan?
Well, I don't have our special conditions with me tonight, but that's in the special conditions, that if there are modifications, and it may not be worded this way, but if there are modifications made to the approved plan, of which we will specifically put on the order of condition, that they are supposed to immediately notify the conservation agent.
Okay.
And then Herlin will determine whether or not they're minor modifications that she can approve or major modifications that will need to come back to be modified.
Oh, good.
Or if it's something that can wait till the final certificate of compliance, the final approval. Herlin, please add to that.
Yeah, so we have a pre-construction meeting with the developer, usually the engineer on site, where an order of conditions is handed to the developer, the person working on the construction site. And then if any modifications are made, they need to contact me. But I make frequent site visits during construction with plans on hand. And then during the request of their certificate of compliance, we need a sign off from an engineer. It's on the form.
Good. They don't want any surprises, and we don't want any surprises. That's all. That's just in a timely manner. Any changes, and there could be modifications because on site. Well, and again, the guy who's going to do the work isn't here. I'm sure he could follow a plan, but
I think that's the check and balance with having the pre-construction meeting and having, the contractor tied to it.
good.
All set, Mike?
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns or comments? All right, there being none, we're talking about Fairmount Street, 0 Fairmount Street, Lot 1. The plan that we are approving today, for the record, is labeled D-2-20, dated March 5th, 2024, with a revision approved dated December 4th, 2024. So if we are okay. Herlin, do you have any questions about the conditions that we're imposing?
No.
Then I will take a motion in a second to approve the conditions for Lot 1.
Motion to accept the plan is submitted with conditions attached.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let me call the roll. Commissioner Christian.
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat.
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs is an aye, so Lot 1 is approved.
Thank you.
Okay.
I won't stand up.
Don't you guys stay there, Bill. Okay, now let's go to our next item, which is Fairmount Street, Lot 3, AG Dream Flip LLC, single family dwelling, Lot 3, Fairmount Street, Mass DEP number 1550750, continued from January 8th. And again, I think we are very close, or we are at the point where we've had a lot of our questions answered. We've had a lot of our requests for changes made to this. Do you have any other comments for us, Bill, on that? Or, okay. Any questions or concerns on Lot 3 from the commissioners? Okay. Let me review what we have potentially for conditions for Lot 3. Our standard special conditions would apply. As noted on the plan, City Fitchburg wetland markers spaced not more than 50 feet. The slope on that side's not as bad, so we might space them, but the 30 to 50 feet,
Yeah,
Bill,
at the discretion of the
you'll
agent.
work with her, Lynn, on that. Location to be confirmed by the conservation agent. In addition to the loam seed and jute mats applied to the slopes, the plug planting to be done to assist stable slope stabilization. Drainage easement to be granted to the city of Fitchburg as noted. Again, slope erosion control planting to be strictly adhered to as detailed on page 9 of the approved plan, with the O&M plans to be provided at the time of order of condition and provided to the responsible party post-construction. That one is 10 pages for Lot 3. We have perpetual conditions, and I think we have the verbiage that we talked about a little bit on this, because that's still going to be an HOA, right, for Lot 3, because that has multiple units. So,
Refer to Chris on that one, but I believe.
yeah, I'm sure it is. We've talked about that. So, the perpetual condition shall apply to the current responsible party and subsequent persons, parties, or entities holding the deed to this property. And again, wetland markers to be placed permanently and replaced as needed. The detention basin to remain in perpetuity with no encroachments, fills, debris, or allowed in and around the basin, and stormwater operation, maintenance, and pollution schedule shall remain in perpetuity. And again, that should be recorded in the order of conditions and with the deed. Any questions, comments, or concerned about potential conditions on Lot 3? Councilor Donnelly, any questions on that one? Anyone else? Berlin, any questions on that one, or?
No.
Okay. Any questions, Bill, on those? All right. If we are, the plan, again, being approved is plan number D-2-20, originally dated March 5th, 2024. The revision being approved dated is December 4th, 2024. I could have a motion in a second for Lot 3.
Motion to accept the plan as submitted with conditions.
Second, anyone? Second, thank you. Let me call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs? Aye. 1 and 3 approved.
Stand
And
up
we
now.
thank you. We worked through a lot of requests that we had, so we appreciate all your
Part of the process.
cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can contact Herlin.
Yep, will do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, very good. Next up, this is notice of intent for Townsend Street from Townsend Street Realty and Trust. This is a 4-building at 0 Townsend Street, Mass DEP number 1550754. This is a hearing continued from January 8th, 2025. And who is joining us tonight?
So for the record, Justin LeClaire, McCarty Engineering. Also here tonight is Ms. Ed McSweeney, the owner of said parcel. So when we were last in front of the commission, there was a few changes that we had to make. Since then, we have been in front of the planning board. We presented the most recent plan that the commission had seen to said planning board. They had a couple comments, some that we are currently working through right now. We're going to have revised plans to them for their next meeting. One of them, I did make the change, and it is on the plan tonight. So looking at the plan on the screen, the house furthest to the left, so as you're coming up the driveway from Townsend Street, the first house on the left, that one was pushed approximately 17 feet further back from where it was originally shown on the plan. That did not alter any of the impacts that we had originally on the plan that you guys had seen last time. So we're still maintaining the boulder retaining wall outside the 25-foot no structure. We're still not impacting the 20-foot no disturb in that area. We just physically took that house and shifted it 17 feet back at the request of the planning board. So I wanted to get that in front of you tonight. The other comments that they had was relative to the scope of the project, the amount of disturbance, and the overall acreage. So I just wanted to provide the commission a figure, and this will be shown to the plan board as well. Where you see the light green hatch is the limit of the overall disturbance for the site. That's about the 2 acres that we had discussed at the last meeting. Everything outside of that is to remain treed, undisturbed, no cutting to be done there. So in the grand scheme of things, we're only impacting a small scale of this entire parcel. The other thing that we did do, and I show it on this plan, is we did take the limit of clearing on the far right-hand side of the plan, and we did pull that in. Originally, we did have that much closer to the property line. The abutter did come to the planning board meeting, raise some concerns about that limit of clearing, so we did pull that further back in. Now we're approximately 20, 25 feet away from the property line, where before we were probably 5 to 10 feet, I would say. So at this time, there's a few more things that the plan board has asked for that we're having deliberation with them about. But in regards to the commission's purview, we're not increasing any of the impacts from what you've seen previously. So with that, any additional questions, comments, happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Justin. Let me first go to anyone in the audience. Do we have anyone here, Ms. Pollack, or anyone want to make any comment tonight? Or okay.
On the Mechanic Street property.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that's all right. Thank you. Townsend Street. All right. So then let's go to the commission. I just have, well, broadly see what we have. Couple of things. We did see the meeting the other night, or I did anyway, with the planning board, and I know that there's a lot of questions that they had. I appreciate that, you know, you've provided us a plan tonight, kind of an overview of moving that house, because they did talk about that. We will eventually need new plans, literally showing where that is, just not a scope. So I'm not, just so we know everybody's expectation tonight, Mr. Sweeney, so you'll know where I think we're heading, we probably are not ready to issue an order of condition on our end yet tonight for a couple of reasons. There are times when we sort of defer to planning if they have a lot of question to kind of come up with what the basic plan's going to be. Sometimes they defer to us to say, now the wetlands are being disturbed a lot more. You go and determine what the footprint's going to be. So you'll need to go back to them at their next meeting anyway. But we're only a week after them, so hopefully you can come up with something at least as a footprint. We don't need to see the stuff as far as what your siding is going to be or what your aesthetics are going to be. If they accept this plan with that house moved 17 foot back, then you will come back and give us a plan to approve that has that in it. And I think we can turn that around pretty quickly.
More than fair.
Yeah. I do have a couple more questions, and then I'll go to the commission. When the project went from the multifamily beyond the 8-unit to the 4-unit, did the drainage report change at all? And are we looking to update that at all?
So the drainage report wasn't updated as part of it. If anything, all that had changed was the rooftop areas. They reduced from when we went for a duplex. It would not show a significant change to the drainage report.
Okay.
If anything,
It would be less.
it'd be less than what was submitted to you guys.
I know that there is the retaining wall. Is there Is there, that's not a retaining wall, that's just trees, correct?
Yes, so in front of the trees there is a retaining wall because we have such a grade change from our site to the neighboring.
Yep.
So off the back of the property, there is the retaining wall. That's still maintained, and then we have a 3-to-1 slope up to where we're showing the reserved parking, and in front of that, we have the arborvitaes to provide that screening.
How are you handling the drainage behind the retaining wall?
So typically, those have, let's say, wick drains on
Yeah.
the back of them. So that would be directed out towards this,
The
ideally
driveway?
out towards the road, and then come down that way. So the wick drain would come out to the end of the wall closest to the road,
And then flow down the
and then
road?
flow down towards Townsend Street. So naturally, this site, a large majority of it, does come from our site across the neighbor's property out to Townsend Street, which is why there were some concerns about the drainage originally as part of this proposed plan.
But you have the new basin that you're going to feed to.
Yeah, and the way that we're regrading it, we're drastically reducing the amount of flow that's going to come out onto Townsend Street than what you see today.
There's also sort of like a little detention basin
the
that's on the
left-hand
side of the
side,
driveway.
correct.
Are you planning on using that at all? And is that on
Yes.
your property or the neighbor's property?
So it's a mix of both. Mr. McSweeney would have to get in touch with the abutter to clean it out, reestablish it a little bit. But the plan is that there's a catch basin located at the entrance of the
bottom,
driveway.
yeah.
That actually goes to an underground infiltration system right under the driveway. And then any overflow from that would go into that
That-
existing basin on the left-hand side when you look at the site.
Okay. All right, so I think those are the questions that I had right now, depending on what planning does. Mr. McSweeney, this is still going to be a homeowners association, even though, so there'll be the master deed, so the O&M plan afterwards would be attached to the deed. Okay, because I didn't know if that was changing because they're single family. All right. So let me go to the commissioners. Commissioner Christian, do you have any other questions?
No.
Commissioner Tanzarowat?
Just a quick comment. So you had said that there was a border line that was 5 feet originally, and then you extended it to 20 feet, roughly?
Yeah, so when you look at this plan, the house furthest to the right, so where you see the limit of the green hatch,
Yes.
that limit of the green hatch is the limit of clearing now revised. The original plan you guys had seen, that tree line was pushed almost up
It's less
to the
clearing
property.
now. More
Yeah, so there's more natural vegetation being left between our property and the abutters.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was one of the comments that was made at planning the other night. The
Yeah.
abutter asked how close they were clearing, and I know that the comment was made you were going to try and
Yep.
increase that, so,
Always for more forestry, so.
yeah.
Yes.
All set, John Michael? or-
Is there anything that they can go back to the planning department with, other than we're waiting for them to make their decision? The plan that we have in front of us, is there any shortcoming to it?
Well, that was the questions that I had. I don't necessarily see, they're out of the buffer zone. I had no other questions about the footprint unless that changes from planning. So
So the footprint as submitted
is acceptable.
you accepted and I accepted, okay, fine. They want to bring something back, I'm sure, and not wait for somebody to make a decision. Yeah, you're not going to get an order of conditions, but
Tonight.
an acceptance of the plan submitted, looks good. Yeah.
As is.
You can bring that back to them.
A full set of plans to be
I mean,
provided.
if planning makes you change this drastically, then we're going to
This
have
is a
to have a
different
whole nother
conversation,
conversation. But as is, and with that one house moved back, you're still out of the 25-foot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the restrictions that you have, for what planning wants you to do to not cross over into where we need to be. So let's see what planning wants them to do beyond that, if anything.
Yeah, and obviously I wasn't in attendance, but I was able to watch it myself. My thought was a lot of the comments from the plan board were more of the aesthetic appeal of what the development is going to be, which your
Yeah,
opinion
that's
is
not going to
different than
hinder
mine,
us.
so
We just want to make sure that
Yeah.
the footprint, the 4 buildings are where they are, and that's what we're going to condition.
yes. And the only building that the board had any issue with was the one on the left-hand side where they had asked for it to be pushed further back into the site.
Okay. Commissioner Donnelly, anything else?
No, that's,
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes, we waiting for something from DEP.
No, on this one, no, the DEP number is in.
Okay.
Okay, so we have that. Herlin, do you have any other comments on this?
What is the new square footage of disturbance now that you reduced the buffer on the side?
I can get you that number. I know we were at 2 acres, so it's probably a little less than that now, just from pulling in that right-hand side.
Have you decided yet, Mr. McSweeney, how you're going to handle are you doing an easement or a restriction or with the other 6 acres?
At this point, since the meeting, a gentleman that is associated with the Hollis Farm, apparently he's talking to the abutters up above. The city owns some other land, and actually after the planning board meeting, he came to me and I said, hey, mine right now is to hold it. In the past, I'd offered the land to the city. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but it'll be worked out if anything. Nothing's going to change on the physical land, but he is actively trying to talk to the city about buying the piece that butts his property.
Yeah, it's a long strip.
Exactly.
Yep.
And if he can, then he said, hey, do you mind if I talk to the city about potentially connecting onto your property in the, well, you don't have the picture, but it's in the far back, okay?
Yep.
And it's not to change. Apparently, that was part of the farm.
Yeah,
years
originally.
ago.
Yep.
And I said, that's basically up to the city. I said, as far as I'm concerned, it'll become part of the homeowners association. But I said, I'm months away from getting everything sorted out and actually starting development. So if you work that out and you and the city come to me, the homeowners won't mind because, again, it'll be made clear that nothing's changing on the property. There won't be any additional buildings back there or anything like that. And so he might work something out, if anything. That's the only thing I'm aware of.
All right, so
The
just
city
keep
agrees
us
it
in the
might
loop
go to-
on that as far as.
And I think
we'll know.
we're months away from that. So we'll
Okay.
close with that parcel being kept as part of the association and left at that.
Okay.
Because the city had no interest prior, and that's how I've done it in the past. Like I made, I think, in the last meeting, about 5, 6 years, well, it's probably 10 years ago, a lot of cities now all of a sudden didn't want to accept individual parcels of land because it comes off the tax roll.
Yep.
And unless they can do something with their department, like if it's a ball field or a Department of Public Work, a substation or something, you just as soon you make it part of the association, divide it among the houses, because they'd rather get some money every year than nothing. And that's what
Okay, so just keep us in the loop if anything changes there and any impact it may have on the wetlands. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you need from us, Justin? Or if not, I will we'll continue to March 5th is our next meeting.
motion to continue.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Let me call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace? Commissioner Jacobs? Aye. So you'll meet with the planning board a week before us, so whatever, if they approve your footprint, then that'll give us a plan to work off of.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
That's good.
Okay. Next up is Mechanic Street and MacPro LLC, single-family dwelling, Mechanic Street. Bill, do we want to take now these three all at one time? Because we're still discussing the scope of the whole project.
To start.
Okay, all right, so Lot 1 is DEP number 1550755. Then MacPro LLC, single-family dwelling, 0 Mechanic Street, Lot 2, Mass DEP number 1550756. And MacPro LLC, single-family dwelling, Mechanic Street, Lot 3, 1550757 is the DEP number, and these are all continued from the January 8th meeting. And who do we have in attendance tonight, please, for the record?
For the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering, and with me is Tim McNamara of MacPro LLC. A couple changes since our last meeting. We had the site walk around the property, looked at the wetlands in the lower side, which is the subject of this filing. And since then, we've also incorporated the stormwater management protocols that are going to be required by the DPW for this. So this project does not meet stormwater management requirements. So stormwater management is not required technically under the DEP wetlands regulations. However, the local ordinance requires us to review the stormwater impacts to the site and provide stormwater compliance to the same level as DEP requires, quite frankly, plus a few other steps that the city of Fitchburg requires. So that has been completed. We have not filed that with DPW. We typically wait till pre-construction to do that because it's a separate permitting process, and we want to make sure that everything else with the site layout, grading, and those items are acceptable to the commission before we move to that step. So the plan that's in front of you now, Harlan, if you can zoom out a little further.
Zoom in or out?
I'm sorry?
Zoom in or out?
Out, just so they can see the whole site.
Sure. Bear with me, I gotta stop sharing.
Yeah, they keep changing where it is.
Yeah, and it's... Apologies.
Bottom middle now. In the black bar, they move it to there.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you don't see it?
You can see that, but I can't. Isn't it? So it's very strange. That's why so in front of my screen, I have the people waiting, and I have other stuff.
Got it.
It's in front of it, so that's
So
why.
if you remember correctly, we were on the site.
Yep.
All this drains down to the culvert that goes underneath Ridge Road. And there's another wetland area, which is shown in the plan up to on the right-hand side. Now it's not shown in the plan.
I'm sorry. There it is.
Yeah. Just to the upper right. That's the area where we walked down, and there was that granite
Culvert.
wall area.
Yep.
There's no culvert there, but there's a granite wall area where the water was bleeding out of the slope at that point, and that's where a question was asked whether this was a bordering vegetated wetland, and that's where we talked about the area that was down there that we could show you where it was bordering on the flow that's in a channel of some sort. So we reviewed that. We then went down and reviewed the area down by the culvert itself to show where the water was ultimately going, noting that there is another wetland system to the south, which is on the left-hand side of this page, which we're also providing compliance with relative to grading and offsets for both the 25 or 20 and 25-foot buffer zones required. So the plan that we originally submitted did not have the stormwater management features on it. What we've done is we've added that to the features that are within the buffer zone. Part of it is we moved the house locations around a little bit to provide some more definition per our previous reviews. We've also reduced the slope, and we eliminated the retaining wall that was on the original set of plans and graded that off so that there would be easier wildlife migration through that particular area. So the retaining wall was eliminated, regraded. That's mainly on Lot 3, I think it is.
Yeah, that's on Lot 3.
Lot 3.
Yep.
And then as you move to Lot 2, the grading spreads over to Lot 1, where we now have that detention basin facility. The majority of the water that goes into that detention basin is overland flow. So there's no real piped drainage system. There's no real catch basins, if you will, like you would in a roadway project. All of the roadway drainage is independent of the site drainage, so that just is what it is, and it stays where it's going. The driveways have been designed so that when you come off of the street, there'll be a little bit of a rise, 6-inch rise or so before we meet with the sidewalk grade, and then from there, that will maintain the gutter flow going along Mechanic Street to the existing drainage system. So there are no changes to the drainage system on Mechanic Street. Once you get onto the site, we have to deal with both driveway drainage, site drainage with respect to the changes to land use conditions, along with the rooftop runoff as part of the overall impact. And this is under the ordinance, not under DE, not under wetlands protection. So technically, the commission doesn't have jurisdiction over this particular aspect of it, except for the grading that we're doing within the buffer zones, et cetera. So if this was 5 lots, then we'd have a different conversation about this. The drainage would be reviewed by the commission and its peer reviewer, but in this particular case, it's being reviewed by DPW in engineering. So part of the requirement is that we mitigate phosphorus levels on the project, along with TSS. And the TSS removal is required at 80% under the DEP standards, which the city of Fitchburg follows, and then they add on additional 10% for 90% of that, or a capture rate adjustment that you can make within the project, which we've complied with here. The additional compliance that they require is 60% of the phosphorus loading, which comes from impervious areas. That's been dealt with respect to capturing the rooftop runoff and portions of the driveway runoff and putting those into chamber systems, which are located connected to the roof drain systems on the plan. And now you can zoom in a little bit more, Herlin, I'm sorry. But on Lot 1, behind the garage on the right-hand side, you can see the square box, correct? And then on Lot 2, it's on the left side of the house, the square box, which then connects. And those two, their overflows will then drain back to the detention basin. And then on Lot 3, to the right of the house, there's another box that's an underground chamber that the phosphorus removal basically gets taken care of on those 3 items. In the drainage analysis, what we did was we ignored those relative to peak rates of runoff, because the amount of runoff you're getting off of a rooftop into a gutter system really is limited to probably the 1-year storm anyways. So above that, the water will flow overland, and we did our full analysis based upon the presumption that all the rooftop flow and all the driveway flow either is captured within an overland flow to the detention basin or flows off-site to the wetland system down below. With that, we show a decrease in peak rates of runoff at the design points for the applicable storms, and all that information has been submitted. I believe it's been submitted to the commission, and it's also part of what we'll be filing with the DPW for engineering review for our stormwater permit from them. So those are really the changes to the product that we've made. We did include the typical plug planting stabilization methods that we also included on the Fairmount Street project have been looped into this one.
Yep.
So the stabilization of the site should be sufficient for the project in whole. This would have a homeowner association for the maintenance of the drainage system. So those same conditions that you would put on in a maintenance schedule with an operation and maintenance plan, along with your designated markers along the limits of clearing, those would all be acceptable conditions of approval. And with that, we'd see if there were any other questions from the commission on this.
All right, thank you very much. So before we go to questions from the commission, I know we have a couple of people in attendance. Do any comments or concerns that you'd like to express at this time beyond what we've already talked about? Or Ms. Pollack, I know but please state your name for the record.
Hi, Donna Pollack. I'm in a butter. And I do have some concerns and some questions, because originally there was the retaining wall, and I know that tonight we're hearing that it's to allow wildlife to go through, but I believe at the last hearing and afterwards, what we were hearing was that it was cost preventative. So I have a great concern that we've gone from needing a retaining wall in an area that's going to be heavily regraded. I mean, because I believe that in their report, they said it was 20,000 square feet area that is going to be impacted with removal of vegetation. So I'm just wondering how an area that required a retaining wall is now just going to be taken care of with plugs.
So I know, Bill, I'll let you respond to that in a minute, but I know part of what we talked about when we were on site was alternatives, because we always look at other alternatives. And what, I know I can't do it, Hurley, but there will be planting instead. So there's a slope that's going to be done, that there is planting, there's jute mats that are applied, and then there are baffles included in that planting that slow the water down to help hold that slope in place of the retaining wall.
I understand that, but it seems to me that we've gone from, oops, sorry about that, a pretty huge retaining wall to plugs. And then the other thing is that with the replanting, we're not planting actual plants. And I know that I heard because plugs in 3 years will develop stronger roots than the actual bigger plants. But, you know, for the 3 years before they establish themselves, I have concern about whether these plugs are actually going to be able to sufficiently deal with the erosion of the land at that site.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so you have it backwards. What we said was that planting shrubs and bushes would take 2 to 3 years, if not more, to establish a good root system to be able to really maintain. The idea of doing the hydroseeding with the jute matting with the plugs was that it stabilizes the area much quicker because those plug plantings grow right away. So in the first year, you're going to see a lot of stabilization, whereas if you just planted some shrubs, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for those shrubs, the root system of those shrubs to actually develop. So it was backwards from what you stated. And I'm not, just okay. And the retaining wall was a couple of different reasons why we eliminated it. There was a cost factor that goes to it, but there's a lot of material that has to be brought in still on this site relative to that, so we're not really saving a lot of money. A lot of it was a change in the house design and how we laid the house in. We shrunk the houses a little bit so we could start our grading a little bit closer to the house than we were before, and then we graded off at a slope that matches the existing slope around the area. So there was kind of a give and take of what the changes we made. And any time we can reduce a retaining wall or eliminate a retaining wall, it does make construction a lot easier. But the mitigating measures of the silt fence and the wattle systems that are placed at the toe of slope, those are going to be in place regardless. And there's going to be monitoring of that by the agent along the construction time. If there are breaches of that, we have to go in right away and repair those things. So there's a lot of check and balances on that, regardless of whether it's a retaining wall or a slope. The amount of construction that has to happen in this area is outside of the buffers that are set up by the city. And mitigation is provided or controls, erosion control procedures are provided as they go for that construction. So it was a little bit of a mix of we'd like to get rid of the wall because it's easier to build it without it, and it's less impactful to the environment. And then the concern was raised relative to the slope and how that was going to be stabilized better, and that's when we got into adding the plug plantings versus vegetation. A lot of that slope is going to be allowed to remain natural. It's probably not going to be mowed like the area around the house would be. So that should grow up over time. And some of the wildflower mixes that we provide, and I believe that they're specified as our general wildflower mix, has a lot of seedlings in that can grow bushes and shrubs and trees over time. So it's not going to be stable day one. Okay, we're not saying it's going to be stable day one. It's not going to be stable day 10. Okay, but day 60, it's a little more stable. 90, 180, then we go into a winter condition, And then that following spring, now you have, that's what the idea is, you have the big growth coming in that second year of the growing season on the projects.
So, Ms. Pollock, if you
It's not perfect science, but it does work.
Yeah, give us a little bit of latitude here, and you'll see as we progress tonight, we may have a little bit more of an answer to where that question comes. And if where we end up doesn't kind of fill in some of the gaps here, I'll let you come back up and speak any other.
Well, did I answer your questions?
I do understand what you said, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Okay.
Just so we know. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bill. Anyone else at this time?
Good evening, members of the board. I'd just like to read this into the record. I'd like to reiterate some of the things that Donna Pollock brought up. This is an extreme project with significant regrading involved, and it includes 20,000 square feet of a disturbed area. This large project includes heavy regrading and vegetation removal, along with a large addition of hardscape. The values and the interests of the wetlands, particularly in regard to erosion and flood control, needs to be given the priority. The original plan did call for a retaining wall, which is now being replaced with seedlings. Probably because of the cost, it was indicated by the engineer that seedlings would be put down with sod because after 3 years they would take root better than the plants. What other than sod is going to protect this area for the 3 years before they are firmly established? And what is to prevent them from being washed away? We're wary about how this will impact the values and the interests of the wetlands. The wetlands aid in the protection of the entire area. The removal of this vegetation is significant. Not being able to afford the proper mitigation, your project to protect the wetlands is not a valid excuse for approving this plan. If the developer can't afford to properly protect the wetlands, then he can't afford the project. It appears that the cost of the wall is being given too much weight and too little weight is being given to the mitigation and erosion, and the effects on the wetlands, its values and interest. We were told that the viewing that there was a detriment age in August, that the stream below in the wetlands is not a perennial stream. The River Protection Act requires that they make observations over 4 consecutive days with timestamps. We are again requesting to see this documentation. We have seen no timestamp documentation showing that this area was observed for 4 consecutive days. We'd ask for this documentation before any determination is made. There is a heavily trafficked rotary at the bottom of this parcel, and it is the main access area to a large school next to it, and is a main traffic area leading to Fitchburg High School as well. The removal of so much vegetation may overwhelm this area.
Sir, we asked for 3 minutes in your
You said 5, didn't you?
I said,
Didn't you say 5 in the beginning?
no, I said 3.
Okay.
But, and the other thing I need to do is, can you state your name and how?
Yes, Eric Dilder, and I'm at a butter,
Okay, and what is your address?
420 Ringe Road.
Okay, thank you. So I'll let you finish up, but quickly.
Okay. We worry about the potential erosion and the flooding in the area, and we worry about the bottom of the parcel, which already experiences issues of flooding impact. We are very worried about the magnitude of this project and its impact, again, on the values of the wetlands and the surrounding areas. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this project? Do we have anyone online, Herlin?
No.
Okay. In that case, I will move to the commission. Commissioner Christian, would you like to start tonight?
Sure. Obviously, there's quite a bit of slope, and this is quite a big undertaking. I certainly don't feel comfortable that I have the knowledge to vote yea or nay. I would like to have a peer review, a third-party review. Obviously, you're an engineer, you have a client that you're working for. You know, this is way over my pay grade.
May I ask what the peer review would be pertaining to?
The slope, you know, so your method of plugs and so forth and regrading, what about compaction rate?
Well, that's all, that is on the plans.
Right, so
yeah.
I'm just looking for another engineer to go over that. I do not have the knowledge to yea or nay on.
Well, I understand the concern, but this is not a foreign type of a matter that we've dealt with construction with this commission in the past. This is construction that we do grading, we do compaction testing along the way, we do slope stabilization, we do jute matting and all the stuff that we're talking about on this. And I think that we've done a pretty good job in the past 30 years of doing that with our clients. So
Then I'll vote.
I've never been asked for a peer review of grading. I guess that's my point.
Well, Commissioner Christian, if I can say, I think I would like, I probably agree with Mark that we'd like to have, and Bill, we've worked on a lot of projects together, and we understand that, but this is very complicated, so we would like to have a peer review of the project.
In general?
In general.
Okay.
Because I have a few other questions beyond the slope, but I'll let Commissioner Christian finish up first.
No, I'm good with that.
So your concern is the slope?
Yes.
In general? Yep.
In general, that's the first thing that jumps out,
Okay.
certainly.
Commissioner Tantanero-Watt?
I would agree that I don't have the pay grade of determining their water runoff and the slopes as well. I would concur if commissioners agreed that they wanted a third-party review. I would agree with that, just for reassurance that the neighboring abutters and streets have the assurance of safety.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Nothing.
Commissioner Wallace?
Thank you.
So a couple of things, Bill, on my list. The mention of, I was a little surprised to hear about the homeowners association because these are individual lots and we've been looking at them as individual lots. So why would there be a homeowners association?
For the maintenance of the drainage system.
All right, and so that's what I was looking at because the detention basin is split right between lot 1 and lot 2.
Correct.
So one of my questions on my list was who determines that? You know,
Right.
you're responsible for this half and you're responsible for that half.
The three parties, the three lots will all be part of the homeowners association. There'll be a drainage easement on the plan that shows where that is. There'll be a full maintenance schedule that's put out regarding that, which is, I believe, is already part of the drainage analysis report that's been submitted.
Okay.
All right, so that can be done on single-family homes. It can be done in a subdivision. It can be done in condominiums. It can be done anything.
Okay. So I think I agree. This is a very complex, you know, Mr. McNamara, you know, it's a very complex project. And we can look at it and say, we've had these conversations. We think that the jute mats and the plantings with the, you know, kind of like speed bumps in it and all that stuff is going to work. But I think I would feel a little bit more comfortable in representing
I just want to know what the scope of the.
I would like to review the project in general.
Okay.
Okay. Herlin will.
Who is the peer review engineer for the?
Well, Herlin will work with you because she has 2 or 3 that she works with. We will present to you. We'll see who's available and at what cost, and we will present that so Mr. McNamara can approve it because he gets to sign off. Because there is a cost associated with that, as we know. But I would feel more comfortable and we can have more of a conversation with Ms. Pollack. That's where I was going. We want to take a look at and have another engineer take a look at all the calculations that we have here and what we're planning on is actually going to work.
One of the things I want to address with one of the abutters that brought it up was the intermittent versus perennial stream. The Rivers Act is very clear. The Rivers Act talks about a perennial stream. The perennial streams are outlined, and the DEP makes reference to the USGS quad sheets for the absolute definition of a perennial stream. And it's literally, I'm not sure if you've ever seen a quad sheet, but it's literally a light blue line or a dark blue line. The light blue lines are intermittent. The dark blue lines are perennial. And if there's no line but there's flow, then it's just a regular wetland with channelization. You don't get into the Rivers Act until you get to the dark blue line. There's no dark blue line shown in this area, which is why we don't classify this as a river, which is why we're not subject to the riverfront area requirements for this project. The 4-day aspect that you're referring to in the regulations is there, but the 4 days is to take and prove that a dark blue line is intermittent, not that a light blue line is perennial. So that 4-day methodology, and you can confirm this with the agent, doesn't apply to this project because it doesn't reach the threshold of being a perennial stream.
Thanks, Bill.
We talked about that on site, I believe.
Yep, we talked about it on site just to make sure that we were all clear with where that was coming from.
If I could, real quick.
Sure, Mr. McNamara, go ahead.
Just a question about the third-party peer review. What exactly is it that they are going to be reviewing? And the reason I ask a genuine question is that my understanding is what we're proposing is we're meeting stormwater management above and beyond what this Conservation Commission is kind of asking for. And so we're providing those calculations, and DPW is going to be reviewing that as well, and we're meeting their standards.
Yes, but
what beyond are we?
It's not just the stormwater management portion, it's the protection of the resource area, okay, the wetlands at the bottom of the property, okay, or the properties. And we are allowed in the Wetlands Protection Act to ask for an independent third-party review to make sure that all the calculations equal what is described in the plan, all right, beyond the scope of the stormwater, because there's really two aspects to it, Wetlands Protection Act and stormwater. We know you're working on stormwater and have provided that, but again, when we talk about the slope and the planting that we're going to do and that it's going to, that jute mat, we think we agree that that's going to work, but we want to make our way of ensuring that the probability is there that it's going to work. Since we're not engineers, we're all lay people, we get to have our own engineer, which is the third-party reviewer, look at it and say, yes, I agree with your plan. You know, we understand that there's an expense and a time frame associated with this, but in very complicated projects, this is usually the route that we take to get an extra.
And I understand also the abutters' concerns with this project, and I want to be totally respectful to them and what we're doing here. But yeah, we have spent, tens of thousands of dollars on the engineering of this project and have put together a comprehensive plan here that addresses many issues.
And while
well
the butters'
above and
concern
beyond.
is important, this is for us, so that we know that we're making the right decision, which in turn, will assist the abutters, but the third-party review is not for the abutters, the third-party review is for us.
Right. Understood.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Herlin?
I just want to say for clarification for the applicant, the abutters, and the commission that this is a buffer zone only project. So we are only asking what is required and what can be asked of us, the commission. By us, I refer to the commission. So a peer review can be asked for in buffer zone projects, and the process of it can be done very swiftly. I have engineers that I usually work with. We send out a proposal. We ask for a proposal, comes back fairly quick. They go on site, and then they can attend the next meeting. So I know there's a cost associated with this, but I want to make it clear that this is within the bounds of what the Wetlands Protection Act offers the commission.
Yes, we understand that.
One last question, since you're touching on it. Is Lot 1 actually outside the buffer zone?
Grading on it.
Okay, the grading is in it. Okay.
Yeah.
I got that one for you.
Can I ask one question related to this project that I
absolutely
didn't ask Chris? So I see that there's discharge from Lot 1 and 2, I believe, to that detention basin? Is lot 3 just going to be absorbed?
No, so you're talking about from the roof drain systems?
Yes.
Yeah, the roof drain systems, they can go over, that's an overflow for the
okay.
phosphorus requirement.
Makes
That's not, so in our overall drainage analysis, we disconnect those from the calculations, because in reality, you get to a 2-year storm or a 10-year storm, the water's going to come off the roof and go right by the gutters.
Okay.
So that's how the analysis is done relative to peak rate. Within the drainage report, there is a 1-year storm event that we plugged in. Was that a 1 year or a 1 inch? Did we do? Do you remember? 1 year. So there's a 1-year storm that we made sure that the chamber systems could handle the roof flow for those 1-year storms for the phosphorus removal portion of the compliance.
Okay.
And that's a local bylaw or local ordinance, not a wetland protection.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess with that, we would ask for a continuance to the next meeting.
Yeah, hopefully we can get this done. But first of all, then, so let me, can I have a motion and a second to authorize a peer review for the Mechanic Street project, general peer review for lots 1, 2, and 3 as a general review? Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion for a peer review.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Let me take a vote. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs? Aye. And then we will continue this until our March 5th meeting. That's,
Hopefully we can get,
yeah, like I said, they usually, they go pretty quick, and then we'll get our recommendation. Ms. Pollack, did that kind of tell you where we, as I said, we want to get the review and ensure that what we're all talking about, that it makes sense?
it may make sense because of about his other question. I'm not sure if you could submit your letter to Herlin so that she has all your comments that you spoke of. But then they could also address, just so there's confirmation of what I'm saying regarding Riverfront.
Okay. Yeah, if you want, if you would
That way
provide your
they
statement
could
to
address those
Herlin.
comments as well.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yep. Perfect.
If I could ask real quick, just
Sure, Tim, go ahead.
if a third-party review is done and they find that this plan is acceptable, is there generally anything else that you guys have concerns with
No,
on
because the
this plan?
third-party review, if they come up with anything, they will say, all right, this looks good, but they recommend that, and you will get a copy of the third-party review also, but maybe make this adjustment. So you will know about it when the third-party review is done, and we can talk about that at the next meeting and then be ready to issue an order of condition.
Understood. Thank you. I appreciate
Because that's what they're going to do. I mean, this project is very complicated, and the engineering and the slopes and the drainage and all of that, that it's very difficult for, we can read the plans and we can look at it, and it's like, okay, here are all the numbers, but we're not engineers either. So really, the engineer peer reviewer kind of stands in, and they ask the other questions that we're not even able to think of because this is beyond the scope of us sometime.
I'm happy to be a part of that. And that's,
Okay.
that's,
So, yeah, I mean, it's the peer review is going to come back with, yep, everything makes sense and we're ready to go, or they should make recommendations for any adjustments, and Bill, you'll review that and see where we go. But once we get the peer review, we'll know where we go from there.
very good.
Okay. So, motion to continue to the March 5th meeting? Motion, anyone?
Made and seconded already.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs? Aye. And hopefully we'll have all of that done for the March meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Helene, do we need a break or anything? Okay. Mr. DeGara, we're going to hold on for 1 second. We're going to take a short recess, 5 minutes, and then we will move on to Fisher Road. I know, I apologize, but we need a real quick break, 5 minutes.
Landscaping plan for Fisher Road.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you very much for our interruption. We are about to continue with our next public hearing, which is 400 Fisher Road, guarantee builders and developers single-story garage and addition at 400 Fisher Road. Finally, a Mass DEP number 1550760. And Mr. DeGara is, oh, yep, Ms. Hicks is online.
Which we received yesterday.
Yeah, I just came. I was wondering whether or not we were going to get it in time. Okay. Ms. Hicks, as soon as Herlin unmutes you, you can...
I did. She's ready.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Hicks.
Good evening, guys. Nice to speak with you this evening. So last time we had spoke, we were proposing to construct a garage attached by a breezeway. One of the requests the commissions had made was a planting plan. So I did submit that as well. And Herlin just pulled that up. So it was a 4x36 garden. There is 3 rows. The front of the garden will be plantings of the black-eyed Susans. The second middle row of the garden will be the wild geraniums, and the third back row of the garden will be New England asters. So I believe that was what Mr. DeGara and Herlin had recommended for the planting plan. So I believe that was the only outstanding question on last meeting.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for updating the plans. Mr. DeGara, any comment or anything?
If you're good, I'm good.
Okay.
I just want to build the garage.
We have no one else here and no one else online, Herlin, so let's go to any comments or questions by the commission. Commissioner Christian? No?
Very good.
Commissioner Donnelly?
I was invited to share my 2 cents on the planting plan, and I didn't, and I'm sorry. It's a good plan, but I was invited to participate, and I neglected to do that, and I apologize to the applicant.
Commissioner Wallace, any questions?
No.
Okay. I have no questions either. I really appreciate, we're looking forward to doing this in a lot more projects, that as there is impervious surfaces added to the lots, that this helps mitigate the water runoff. And hopefully you think it's a beautiful backyard, because the plants should look good. So I would propose at this time that we have our standard special conditions, and just detail that the planting list and size of the buffer garden must be established exactly as detailed on the plan, and that the one perpetual condition that the wetland buffer garden remain and be maintained in perpetuity. If that is acceptable, I will take a motion and a second to accept the plan.
Motion to accept the plan is submitted with conditions.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. Let me call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanaro-Watt?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs is an aye. Mr. DeGara, thank you very much. Ms. Hicks, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you.
Will I receive a copy of the order of conditions?
Yeah, you'll get all of that. Yeah, and then that'll have to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, which I'm sure you know. Yeah.
Make your sign. Get your sign up. DEP sign.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make sure that happens.
Yeah.
It's your job.
Okay.
So we're all set?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Go in peace.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
DeGara, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay. Let me pop out in the lobby and see if Mr. Morrow is available for our next 2 projects. Do you want to check with him?
He's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're still on one of the other ones?
Are you okay? Want to try one for now and then see how it goes?
Yeah, I mean, these are really quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the first one?
All right, so hold on one second. Next on our agenda, let's open the hearing for 1179 Ashby State Road, John Keefe, single-story garage addition at 1179 Ashby State Road. This is a new project, Mass DEP number 1550758. Since this is new, Herlin, let me confirm, have you gotten a butter notification cards?
Yes.
And all fees have been paid?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Morrow representing John Keefe. So essentially, we have a bordering vegetated wetland that I found on the property when I went to examine the property for Mr. Keefe. He wants to put a proposed 24 by 26 garage adjacent to his single-family home over at 1179 Ashby State Road. He is going to need a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is scheduled for next week. I can't remember if it's the 11th or the 13th.
For the zoning board?
Yes.
I think they're the second Tuesday, right, Mark? Do you know zoning board second Tuesday?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe it's
So that
next
would be
week.
the 11th,
So it would be, yeah. And we did have a DEP number issued with no comment.
Yep.
I did talk to Herlin about maybe doing a vegetative planting. I've spoken to my client, and he's agreed to do a buffer zone of blueberry bushes right in front of the wetland line. We can do 3-gallon pails 5 feet apart to allow them room to grow in.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Herlin, you'll make note of that because that's not on the actual plan that we're approving, so that would be...
A special condition, and I'll monitor the growth for him. John's a friend of mine, so,
Okay.
I go over and I visit with him and his wife regularly, so I'll be more than happy to monitor it for him.
Okay, perfect. I don't believe we have anyone online, and there's nobody in person, so let me go to the commission. Any comments or questions? Anyone?
No.
No? Commissioner Donnelly?
No.
Okay. There being none, I would say at this time that we would approve this plan with just our standard order of condition and one special condition to include the buffer planting as detailed tonight at the meeting. And I will take a motion in a second to approve this plan.
Motion to approve the plans with the conditions?
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Pelletier? Or Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs? The plan is approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you need to check where you are? Do you want to go right?
No, we might as well just go right into it.
Okay. Next on our agenda is 11 Bennett Road, John Larking, septic replacement at 11 Bennett Road, Mass DEP 1550759. This is a new item. Again, Herlin, do we have a butter notification cards and all fees have been paid?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mr. Morrow, go ahead.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. This is for a replacement septic system at 11 Bennett. It has Board of Health approval. It was issued a DEP number with no comment. It is within the riverfront. However, it does meet the exemption criteria for work within the riverfront under grandfathering, even though we did consider the riverfront area here, because they normally don't consider replacement septic systems that are within the outer riparian zone. Pretty straightforward stuff. About maybe 1,200 square feet of impact total when you count the force main and the leach field and the grading.
Again, no comment, no one online, Herlin. Okay, comments from the commission? Questions? No. Commissioner Donnelly, Commissioner Wallace? Okay, no, all right. So the plan that we're approving is plan number 11202401 dated 12/2/2024. And at this point, it's just with our standard special conditions. If I have a motion in a second, please.
Motion to accept the plan as submitted.
And second, anyone?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace? Aye. Commissioner Jacobs? Aye. Mr.
Thank you
Morrow,
very much,
very
ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening, and
Okay.
hope to see you guys again soon.
All right, thank you. Okay. Cruising right along. Conservation agent updates. Herlin, anything?
Can't remember.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I can't think of anything at the moment. If I did,
Okay.
tough week.
Yeah. If you do, we can come back to it.
Yes.
All right, next item, open discussion for commissioners. Each month, we'll kind of tackle something that we want to talk about, and this month, I would like to talk about the Mullen rule. For our new commissioners, possibly, there was a copy of what the actual Mullen rule is included in your packet. That is, if you miss a meeting, you can go back and read the minutes or watch the meeting online. Then you verify, there's a form that you fill out, you give to Herlin, and you say, okay, I'm up to date with the meeting that I missed. That then allows you to then proceed with any of the projects that were in front of us going forward. At the end of the Mullen rule, it allows, let me read that. By ordinance or bylaw, a city or town may adopt minimum additional requirements for attendance at scheduled board, committee, and commission hearings under this section. That's the point that I would like to discuss tonight. And is there a limit of absences that should be expected from commissioners before there are ramifications of such? You miss 2 meetings, what happens? You miss 3 meetings, what happens? You miss 4 meetings, what happens? The floor is open for discussion. So to Commissioner Donnelly, we have recently, not very recently, but sometimes there are times when members, for whatever reason, they need to move along, and now they just don't start showing up. And so we don't know what their status is. I am thinking that we should sort of set some guidelines up front that say, if you miss X number of meetings, then that moves you back to an associate member, and somebody else that is kind of be here full time will take that spot. Again, what does anybody else think about that? Commissioner Christian, I know you have experience with that with other commissions. How do they deal with that?
So I know one conservation commission at the Cape, they only allow 2 and you're done. You're just done. You and I have talked about this, and I don't care what number you pick, and I really am a stickler for attendance. If you want to be on the commission, show up. I get that. But I also think whatever number you pick, whether it be 2 or 3 or whatever, the bottom line should be there should be some discretion by either the chair and the agent, because this is a volunteer board. I have yet to see any associate members, and I think I've been here 5 years. People aren't beating down the door to be on this commission. So if you take a hardline stance and somebody misses, they can step down or they can just walk away, and we're going to have a hard time filling those positions. So I don't care what number you pick, but I do think we need to have discretion. We're all getting older. It could be a spouse, could be whatever. That's how I feel.
So some number would be, and I think I agree with you, would be acceptable if we said something like, a commissioner can request a temporary hardship waiver for a limited term of absence, because that would be what you're talking about, that there may be an extended period. They still want to be involved, but they could just ask for the waiver. What we've found in the past is people just don't show up. So, so if you just don't show up, you miss so many meetings, here's what happens. However, if you need a waiver, just come in, talk to the commission, ask for a long-term, because it could be parents, it could be family, it could be children, it could be whatever that you're gonna, spouse, so you may need to miss meetings, but that would be approved by the commission, but at least there's a conversation ongoing. A lot of times there's no conversation, so
That's not addressed.
the Mullen rule does not address that. The Mullen rule only addresses the fact that if you miss one meeting, then you watch the minutes or read the minutes or watch the meeting online, and then you can participate in a vote. Even if you do that, if you miss another meeting and a project is still ongoing, you can't apply the Mullen rule for the second time. If it's a new project, yes, but again, let's take, for example, Oakhill Road that's been going on and on and on. If you missed a meeting for Oakhill Road and you applied the Mullen rule, that's your one time. If you miss another meeting that has Oakhill Road on it, you can't participate in that discussion. So there's really two different things. It's what can you participate and vote on in a discussion, and then what are the expectations for a commissioner to be on the board. Commissioner Tantanero, want comments or?
Taking in mind that we only meet 11 days out of the year, is that right? Because we don't go in July. To me, if it was 2 days out of the whole 11 days or the whole year, or 2 consecutive and 3 individual, that would be my vote on attendance-wise. That there should be some kind of standard just to expect to be here to participate.
Yeah, it's just really, and we hoping we don't have to enforce this. Yes, it's just kind of setting the guidelines so that when people come on board, they sort of know what's expected of them, is really what we're saying. Commissioner Donnelly, your thoughts? I mean, how have they ever addressed this in the past? I mean, you've seen people come and go over and over and over again.
It's worth discussing. 11 meetings a year. You don't care what number. Pick a number that you're comfortable with. I think let's pick the number 2. When that number 2 comes up, you recognize your obligation as to the conscom to explain your absence. Right? And if we accept it, we accept it. If we don't, we don't. There are other meetings on sites that are as significant, maybe not. You haven't broached that. Nevertheless, that's a significant topic as well, on-site walks. But pick a number. 2 is a reasonable number out of 11. When you say 11, that really doesn't show a lot of commitment, but it's a commitment. So if you're going to miss 2 of those 11, that commitment is even less. It's volunteer. If you when it comes to volunteerism, when it comes to volunteering to do something, if you said you're going to do something, dang it, do it. You're a volunteer, I get it, but when you commit to something, and we've all committed to something, do it. That's what a volunteer does. And anyone that doesn't do it and doesn't communicate is holding the rest of us in the lurch, or holding that potential candidate from jumping on board. We don't go out of our way looking for people, but if we didn't have one, then we would probably do it. It would be nice to know whether we have them or we don't have them. Pick a number 2. I'll pick a number 2. Yeah. And explain yourself away after 2. Explain yourself away, or on number 2. Yeah.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes, I'm a little cloudy on this. If someone attends remotely,
that's still considered a meeting. Okay. So members can, because Herlin, they're still going to allow hybrid meetings for members of the commission.
Yes.
So that would count as attending.
And you're saying if once they're absent and view the meeting online, that's an absence?
No, they're absent, but it's still, that counts. So we're really looking at 2 pictures. The Mullen rule just says you have to read it watch it online in order to be able to vote on any of the projects that were talked about that meeting that you missed, because you've missed that deliberation, okay? But then we're talking about in our board organization attendance. And that has really nothing to do with the voting level. It's really about when do we expect you to be here. Did that clarify that a little bit?
Well, that opens up that attendance at our meeting is not significant. That 2 is unnecessary. No, any number, if they can comply with the Mullen rule, do they have to be here?
But the Mullen rule only allows them 1. They can, again, they only get to apply the Mullen rule 1 time.
One
For
topic.
one project, yeah. So each project is treated differently. So if there were 5 topics discussed at the meeting that you missed,
Very good.
the Mullen rule applies,
Very
and you
good.
can continue to have discussions in those 5. If you miss another meeting and those 5 are still on the table, you can't vote on those meetings. Because you've missed 2, or the Mullen rule cannot be applied 2 times, just once.
To piggyback on Catherine, haven't we had a discussion already about commissioners and applicants attending? I know applicants are required to attend at least their first one to explain the scope of their project.
Yep.
But did we agree that commissioners had to attend in person? Or is that something?
Well,
I know
that's
the guidance is
preferable.
different.
That's, again, you know,
I'm just trying to jog my memory. I thought we
I don't know. Did we talk
I don't
about
think we
it?
discussed the actual commission.
Well, we kept, yeah, you know, I mean, I know we talked about preferably being here in person, but there may be times that somebody is away, but you still make time to attend the meeting because it's important.
And the Mullen rule covers them.
And the Mullen rule covers that. Well, no,
That's the first meeting.
but you were attending. If you're online virtual, you don't have to apply the Mullen rule because you're actually participating in the discussion.
Well,
The
no,
Mullen
remember.
rule would apply if you didn't participate at all.
So the question was, is a commission member, is attendance necessary at meeting number 1? That wasn't a point of discussion, but the Mullen rule covers that point, right?
Right.
Okay, they could be absent, they can do it up there or whatever, they're covered. All right,
So we just want to say, here's the guidelines. We expect you to be in person. If you can't, you have the option of being online and you're still, okay. But after 2, then if you need a waiver, you ask for a waiver because there's an issue, or you would step aside to an associate, and assuming that we do have people.
I'm going to say 2, and to see how generous I am, I came to 2 to 3 years of Conservation Commission members as an associate member, and I had to have had the best attendance record for those 3 years. And I was an associate, not a voting member. So I'm being very generous when I say 2.
I would agree with 2. I think 2 is fair. If you miss 2 meetings, and I think the way that Commissioner Donnelly framed it is if you miss 2 meetings, then we would at least expect some explanation, and if you still need more time, request a waiver. I think that would be acceptable. Herlin, comments?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more for a level of transparency so that people aren't like no show, no call.
Yeah, I'm on the commission, but I don't show up for 6 meetings,
If you volunteer for something, do it.
Show up, correct.
Now, I would like to comment, site visits, I think, are an exception, because we do that on Saturday, sometimes we do that during the day, we do that at night. None of this would apply to separate scheduled site visits. This is our
11
regular-
calendar dates.
Yeah, monthly meetings. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so this is really, we don't need to take a vote, but this is just our discussion of how the commission is organized, so thank you very much for your opinions, and
I will be taking attendance.
and Erlen will be keeping track. And I do have...
Sign in.
I know. One more comment as far as our commission discussion. With our elections last month, Commissioner Tantanarowat is graciously accepted to be our vice chair. He will also now be taking on the role of the violations subcommittee. So I thank you very much for that. Look forward to. Now, I did ask him if, a little bit different than the way we have been proceeding, our previous chair, a lot of, because of work constraints and stuff, she could not be involved. But I asked if from time to time I can be on some groups, and Commissioner Tantanera graciously agreed that once in a while. But we look forward to, hopefully we don't have any violations to address, but we look forward to continuing that process of dealing with violations seems to be working quite well. Good luck with that, John Michael. Okay? And do we have any other discussion, anything else?
I just want to recognize the outstanding violations and/or unfinished business within the Conservation Commission. Congratulations for playing catch up, putting things to bed. It's a big deal. I've seen a few open cases and a few open cases, and to close them, that's pretty admirable. I appreciate anybody who did that. Thanks a lot. If we come here and to issue an order of conditions and then to have him flip you off, and 9 years later, nothing. So this idea of volunteering once a month for 11 months is kind of silly. Our time is more valuable than that. But when you can know that what you say is what you mean and what gets accomplished, it's satisfying. So thank you for doing that.
Well, I also have to say that a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have a wonderful conservation agent, because
that's what I was.
Berlin,
didn't
exactly,
I say that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not just us doing the job that we've been able to do. We wouldn't be able to do it without our conservation agent, because she's vigilant and follows up and meticulous in the work that she does. So we appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And yes, Commissioner Wallace?
I addressed this with Commissioner Donnelly about the property.
Townsend Street property. You want it? You want to put a bid in on it? The Townsend Street open space. The developer that was here tonight. You want to go after it? Is there any interest in Conscom?
I have no interest in it.
I'd like to work with Jimmy Latanzi and the planning board. It's going to come up now. It's going to come up again and again and again. It's a planned unit development. What's in the public benefit? When they put it in the HOA, there's no public benefit to that project. At a PUD, and that there has to be. I don't see it. So if we got the land out of it, there might be a public benefit. If they deed it collectively, then it's public access. They own it, they manage it, and Jimmy Latanzi is going to go after it. He has a business interest in it. I can see this is typical of the city. If there's money, they go after the money, and how can they do it? They could effectively take the land for nothing from Mr. McSweeney, and sell it to the farmer.
Do you have any idea what indication that Marshall Farm would want that for?
Well, there must be a sliver that has value. There must be the top edge of it or something. The westerly side. No. Far be it for me to tell you what Jimmy wants it for, but it expands his farm, and farmers collect land, and no, I don't.
I mean, at this time, I am of the opinion that we can't manage the property that we have now, so I have no interest in it.
I would love to do this all the time, is to grab the land and then sell it ourselves. But if Conscom gets it, that's kind of off the table.
Yeah, right.
If the city gets it, it's quite on the table. I don't have an answer other than if we don't need it. If we did need it, it'd have to be in-house, but we could put a cell tower on it, you know what I'm saying? $2,600 a month,
right.
20 years ago.
Right.
Not a bad deal. So I'm looking at a way to maximize our economic.
Well, keep the options open, and I know you maybe have your ear to the ground a little bit more about what's going on at some of the other boards and stuff. And if you think there's anything that is of interest to us, bring it back to us then.
As I said, I believe the city would maximize that. And if we could jump in front of some other department, which, case in point, Baker Brook. Attorney Gelinas came to us to give us the land on Baker Brook, the sand pit across from St. Bernard's. I said, yeah, we want it. Then he went and talked with DPW. He gave it to DPW. I challenged them here. I says, wait a minute, we had a deal. You made an offer, we made an acceptance. That's a contract. You broke your contract, because then he went and gave it to the DPW. So right now, DPW, I think, although I saw a recent map, owns the sand pit. And I'm saying, well, if we could have got that, here's the deal, is that land's in Fitchburg, accessible only from Lunenburg, Tri-Town Theater, drive-in, that road. We own land on Airport Road, accessible, excuse me, Lunenburg owns land in Fitchburg, accessible only by Airport Road.
Right.
They can't get to it from Lunenburg because the railroad tracks bisect it. We can't get to our land because we got to go over Baker Brook on the sand pit. Make a swap. Makes perfect sense to me. Swap one piece of land that Leominster can get access to, and that means municipal bounds. Change municipal bounds. It's not unheard of. Could be done, should be done. Nobody's wise enough to don't think about that, but it's a no-brainer in my point. That's why I like this parcel of land if we think outside the box, or to think within the box.
Well, just keep our options open.
Is
Yeah, go ahead.
conservation property for sale, or is it considered protected once it's in our hands?
It's protected, but so there's so many layers to this, stuff like this. First, we can't impose a person or advise a person to sell their land to us. That's not legal. So we have to be very careful that line we thread when we ask this gentleman to, yeah, we'll take it. We can't impose what people do with their private property. At the end of the day, if he owns that land, it's his to do with what he wants with it. And then we have the process and procedures of legal bindings, which are the right of first refusal. And there's just so many layers to things like this. I don't think that the city is in a position to even take this land if we wanted it, if he offered it, because of the legality of it. There's a cost associated. Nothing is free, right? So even though the land is given to us, there are things that come along with that the city does not have the funding for. And then if we sell it, that's also another process. There's no frontage to that land except for the fact that Latanzi owns it, right?
And a butter. You sell it to a butter in its entirety. Yeah.
So I don't know what the restrictions are to stuff like that, but I know off the bat we would have to, the city can't just sell it to a specific person. It would have to go on RFP because it has to be fair sale available to the public. And then they would have to go with whoever is most beneficial. And if somebody shows up with a bigger interest, if one of the people who actually live on those lots says, I want all the land, then there goes Jim Latanzi, right? So that's rolling the dice with things like that. And I think
That's why it's good to discuss it, because the city isn't above selling it outright without putting an RFP on it and open to the public.
Right.
Again, let's go back to Cobbler Drive right now.
I think
They're sitting on our land with no input from us, and a deal was made by the former city solicitor, and they continue to use it. And I know this to be a fact.
So I think that the key word there is former, and the state is really, really hunkering down on stuff like that. RFPs used to go out for a sale price, and you could buy a lot for $1,000. That's no longer a thing. Now they have to get a realtor and sell it for market value. Things are definitely changing, and that might deter people from coming forth. And then the city's stuck with a property that's inaccessible. If the city puts that in RFP and says that it's worth $1 million, is the owner of the farmer going to really pay that money?
It's only worth what a butter's willing to pay, or anybody's willing to pay for it. That's the value of it.
Correct.
So an RFP, that's where they can say, well, it's not the money that we need, it's the development project proposal that you're going up with. So there is ways of getting around it, but when it comes to CONSCOM, we don't get rid of land, we don't sell it without the state approval. And the state isn't going to take conservation land and make a parking lot out of it. They wouldn't go big on that.
All right, so if there is no other open discussion, then we'll move to our last item on the agenda tonight, which was the minutes from our special meeting of September 18th, 2024. Any questions or concerns? I did not see anything. I think it's available to approve as written. If so, I will take a motion and a second.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Okay. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs? I approved. And do I have a motion and a second to adjourn the Conservation Commission regular meeting for February 5th and adjourn to our next meeting of March 5th?
Motion made.
Second.
Okay, by voice vote, I can't talk anymore. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. We are adjourned at 8:05.